You wake up to the headlines and see the name David Anthony Burke, better known to fans as D4vd, everywhere. It isn't about his music this time, though. Instead, it's a grim story unfolding around him, the kind of story you never expect to be tied to a rising star. On September 8th, investigators discovered a body inside the front trunk of a Tesla registered in his name. The victim, later identified as 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, turned this into more than just a tragic accident. It became a full-blown scandal. The media swarmed, fans speculated, and law enforcement made it clear this wasn't going away quietly. You imagine the shock of scrolling through social feeds, seeing the words, "Body found in D4vd's car," and wondering if it could possibly be true. The image that comes next is of police tape and flashing lights outside a Hollywood Hills mansion linked to him. Detectives from the LAPD's Robbery-Homicide division arrive with a warrant, collecting electronics and searching for anything that could connect dots between Celeste and the artist. You're told the mansion wasn't even his permanent home, just a rental, but that doesn't soften the impact. The idea that a teenager's body was found inside his vehicle feels surreal, especially when you consider that his career had been climbing so fast, with charting singles and sold-out shows. Suddenly, everything shifts, and now you're left piecing together fragments of a story that sounds more like a crime thriller than celebrity news. What grips you even more are the details emerging around the victim. She wasn't just a stranger. Reports say she and D4d shared matching tattoos, the word "shh" inked on their index fingers. Questions begin forming in your mind. Was there a secret relationship? How long had they known each other? And did anyone around them see this coming? Friends claim they believed she was 19, not 15, which only complicates the narrative further. You realize this isn't just about a body found in a car. It's about blurred lines, trust broken, and the way public figures sometimes live in shadows you never see until they're dragged into the light. You think about how fast things can crumble when the spotlight shifts from music to suspicion. Within days of the discovery, the mansion tied to D4vd is emptied. Movers are photographed hauling furniture and personal items out of the property, while neighbors whisper about the police raids that had shaken the quiet Hollywood Hills street. You picture the eerie scene, a rental once used as a retreat, now reduced to evidence bags, cameras snapping every box carried down the driveway. The lease is broken, and with that, his connection to the glamorous image of Los Angeles living seems to vanish overnight. What was once a symbol of success now feels tainted, the house becoming shorthand for a scandal no one saw coming. The timeline starts to weigh heavily on you. Celeste had been reported missing before she was found in the Tesla, and that detail alone shifts the case from tragedy to potential crime. Detectives comb through his online presence, seizing phones and computers, searching for messages, photos, anything that could confirm or deny a relationship with her. You find yourself imagining the digital trail left behind, the late-night texts, private DMs, maybe even hidden folders, all of it now in the hands of investigators. For a celebrity, privacy is already fragile, but in this situation, every hidden interaction becomes a piece of evidence. Then comes the career fallout. Tour dates, once highlighted on posters and ticket stubs, are suddenly canceled. Fans who had been counting down the days now face silence, refunds, and confusion. Statements from his team stress that he is cooperating fully with authorities, but you notice how quickly public support begins to fracture. Some defend him, saying the story feels exaggerated, while others can't ignore the severity of a teenager's body linked to his car. You recognize how fragile a reputation can be. One day you're celebrated as a rising voice in music, and the next, your name is whispered with doubt, tied to a case where the questions seem endless and the answers are painfully slow to arrive. You watch how the story shifts from whispers to a frenzy, and suddenly every detail about D4vd becomes a headline. Paparazzi stake out airports, hotels, even the entrances to recording studios, desperate to catch a glimpse of him. Each blurry photo is dissected online. Was he wearing the same hoodie he was last seen in? Did he look nervous? Was he hiding something? The weight of being a public figure becomes clear to you in moments like this. It's no longer just about his music. It's about body language, facial facial expressions, and silence, all treated as clues. You realize how quickly curiosity transforms into obsession, and how a celebrity can't breathe without it being captured and analyzed. Meanwhile, Celeste's name takes over social media. She's no longer just a victim in a report. She becomes a symbol, a teenager whose life ended under mysterious circumstances. Old photos surface, school snapshots, selfies, candid posts, and they collide with speculation about her connection to the artist. The tattoo detail spreads like wildfire, and you can't escape the comments demanding justice, while others try to piece together timelines of when they might have been seen together. You picture the internet as a giant courtroom, with millions acting as judge and jury before the actual case has even reached the legal system. In the middle of it all, rumors twist the narrative further. Friends of Celeste claim they thought she was older, sparking debates about deception, accountability, and how much responsibility falls on someone in D4vd's position. You notice how the conversation shifts. Some argue this is about exploitation, while others say it's about tragic misunderstanding. Both sides grow louder, creating a storm where facts and speculation blur. And as you take it in, you understand that this case isn't just about a body in a car. It's about the clash between fame, responsibility, and the unforgiving nature of public judgment. You start to feel the gravity of how the investigation pulls deeper into his life. Detectives aren't only interested in where the Tesla was parked or who last drove it. They're piecing together his movements, his relationships, and his state of mind in the days leading up to Celeste's death. You imagine the pressure of having every corner of your life laid bare, from hotel records to security footage, even down to food delivery receipts. Nothing is off limits. The authorities treat celebrities no differently in this context. If anything, the spotlight forces them to be even more meticulous, knowing every misstep could play out on the front page before it's proven in court. At the same time, you watch how his fan base fractures under the weight of uncertainty. Loyal supporters flood his social media with messages of encouragement, pleading for patience and fairness. Others unfollow, delete playlists, and call for accountability. You notice how fandom works both ways. It can be a shield, but it can also collapse in a heartbeat when trust is broken. For a rising artist like D4d, that collapse isn't just about reputation, it's about the very foundation of his career. You think about all the young fans who once saw him as an inspiration, now grappling with the possibility that their idol is connected to something unthinkable. What intensifies the tension is the silence. D4vd himself hasn't given a detailed personal statement. His team's brief messages about cooperation, about canceling shows, feel rehearsed, controlled, and distant. That absence of a voice leaves space for speculation to thrive. You know that silence is often a legal strategy, but in the court of public opinion, it feels like fuel to the fire. You can sense the growing impatience, the way the world demands answers faster than investigations can deliver them. And in that waiting, suspicion becomes louder, shadows seem darker, and every unanswered question starts to feel like an answer in itself. You see how the media machine keeps grinding, and with each new headline, the story twists a little further. News outlets run side-by-side photos, D4vd on stage in front of screaming crowds, and Celeste's school portraits, her youth emphasized in stark contrast. That visual clash is powerful, almost manipulative, but it works. The audience can't look away. You realize how stories like this aren't just reported. They're shaped, framed to provoke a reaction, to force you to take a side before the facts are fully known. Behind the spectacle, investigators continue their quiet, methodical work. They trace the Tesla's route, checking surveillance footage to see who drove it last. Forensic teams pore over fingerprints, DNA, and digital records that might answer the biggest question: how did Celeste's body end up in that car? You picture the sterile lab rooms, technicians in gloves, the hum of machines analyzing evidence, while outside, the noise of speculation grows louder. The contrast feels surreal. Science moves slowly, while social media demands instant answers. Meanwhile, the entertainment industry itself begins to respond. Collaborators distance themselves, carefully worded statements surface, and projects quietly pause. Streaming platforms that once featured his tracks in curated playlists now scale back visibility, waiting to see how the investigation unfolds. You notice how quickly success can vanish when scandal strikes. It's not always about guilt or innocence, but about risk management and public perception. What makes it more haunting are the personal details still surfacing. The tattoo connection refuses to fade from conversations, acting as an intimate thread linking D4vd and Celeste in a way that feels unsettling. Each revelation adds another layer of complexity. Was this secrecy? Was it naivety? Or was it something darker? You can't help but feel the weight of uncertainty, caught between the forensic precision of investigators and the emotional chaos of a public desperate for a conclusion. You notice how the silence surrounding the case creates room for outsiders to step in and shape the story. Commentators, podcasts, and YouTube channels dissect every shred of available information, turning speculation into content. They rewind clips from his interviews, analyze his lyrics, and pull apart old social media posts in search of hidden meanings. You think about how easily art becomes evidence in the public eye, how a line written about heartbreak or secrecy suddenly feels like confession when the context shifts. The narrative grows bigger than the facts, becoming a puzzle people feel entitled to solve, even when the pieces don't quite fit. At the same time, Celeste's family grieves in public silence. Photos of candlelight vigils circulate online, classmates leaving flowers, friends posting memories that remind you she was more than a headline. The human cost of this case comes into focus: the teenager who will never grow up, and the community left grappling with questions no one can fully answer. It grounds you, reminding you that while celebrity scandals make for endless speculation, the heart of the story is still about loss. You also begin to see how the legal process lags behind public opinion. Police confirm little beyond the basics, yet the lack of updates only fuels further conspiracy theories. Was he directly involved, or is he caught in circumstances spiraling beyond his control? The absence of charges leaves a gray area that both defenders and critics seize upon. For some, silence means innocence. For others, it feels like delay tactics. And as you absorb all of this, you recognize the uncomfortable truth. Once a name is tied to tragedy, it rarely separates cleanly again. Even if the investigation clears him, the stain of association remains. You see how quickly reputations are built on hits and headlines, and how just as quickly they can unravel when a single story dominates the narrative. You realize how the final layer of this unfolding story isn't just about evidence or public reaction. It's about the long shadow it casts on the future. Whether guilty or innocent, D4vd's career now sits at a crossroads that feels impossible to reverse. Music executives, brands, and streaming services weigh their decisions quietly, knowing that aligning with his name could invite backlash. Even fans who want to believe in his innocence hesitate before pressing play. The image of a body in his car, impossible to unsee. You think about how reputation in Hollywood isn't just fragile, it's transactional. And once trust breaks, rebuilding it requires more than talent. The unanswered questions still gnaw at you. Why was Celeste in that car? What circumstances led her there? Was it negligence, secrecy, or something darker? You imagine the investigators holding those answers in sealed files, evidence bags, and testimony yet to be revealed. Until the truth emerges, the void is filled by theories, guesses, and the noise of millions who believe they already know. The line between fact and speculation blurs so deeply that even when clarity comes, you wonder if the world will be ready to accept it. And yet, beneath all the scandal, you sense the personal weight pressing hardest on him. Tours gone, music halted, a mansion abandoned. What remains is silence. Not the silence of legal strategy, but the silence of someone who knows life will never return to what it once was. For Celeste's family, that silence is grief. For the industry, it's caution. For the public, it's frustration. And for you, watching from the outside, it becomes a reminder of how fame magnifies both triumph and tragedy, turning private mistakes into public reckonings that echo far beyond the stage.